Let me make sure the audio is correct before I step. Let me make sure the audio is correct before I step. All right, we good. What's going on, y'all? This is Marcus Rosa, a.k.a. Mazuma TV. Back at y'all with some more boxing talk, man. I hope everybody's having a blessed, beautiful, positive, productive night. I hope y'all had a great day overall, man. Back at y'all with some more boxing talk. We got some things that we currently need to discuss. We're going to talk about David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde being official for November, according to Turkey Al-Sheikh, and my thoughts on that fight overall. Then we're going to talk about Abdullah Mason and Floyd Schofield's sparring being released to the public. You see what I'm saying? And then, of course, we're going to get into some open boxing topics. You know, as always, you feel what I mean? Shout out to everybody that's in the building. I apologize for coming in a little bit late. Yeah, I mean, I just woke up, man. I damn near missed a live, man. But, you know, thank God I was able to get up and realize that, you know, I was running late, so I hurried up over here. And, you know, I'm on here chopping it up with y'all. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as y'all come in, if y'all can hit the like button, that'll be very much appreciated. Let's hit the like button. Let's get the algorithm on the up so the people know that Mazuma TV is live. We already got a few comments in the building, man. Salute to everybody that's showing love and people that even commented before the live even came on. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to the first comment of the day, the girl Smooshy. She said, "What up, Marky Mark? You heard about Ice picking up Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. after his Jake Paul fight?" Yeah, I did see that. You know what I mean? That definitely caught me off guard, man. Because for one, I'd have thought that by now, as long as, you know, Chavez Jr. done been in the States, that he would have had his, you know, paperwork together. You know what I'm saying? I thought that he'd have been like, you know, at least a citizen by now. But, you know, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. You know, he did that fight with Jake Paul, and then he was, you know, arrested because he had some type of warrant for his arrest out in Mexico with being involved with different cartels. And if y'all know the history behind, like, you know, the Chavezes, I guess you would say, even Chavez Sr., there's always been like reports of them being affiliated with the cartel. And, you know, Chavez Sr. basically admitting that he grew up with these guys that was a part of the cartel. Those are his friends and things of that nature. So I guess Chavez Jr. is somehow tied up in all of that. And I mean, it seems like he got some issues going on that's deeper than boxing at this point. So I hope he's okay. You know what I mean? Hopefully those accusations aren't true, because if that is the case, he's looking at a very, very unfortunate situation ahead of him. You know what I mean? The last thing you want to do is, you know, have an arrest warrant and, you know, they piling up all this evidence against you, and now they saying you affiliated with the Sinaloa cartel. You know what I mean? And, you know, that's not a good look at all. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, hopefully they get that figured out in the meantime. Shout out to Death22. What up? Baboon Balloon. What up? Slime in the building. Coffee Plant. What up? The Maestro. Derek Moore in the building. What up, brother? J Cash, the money man, is in the building. Baboon Balloon said when the cartel went to Oscar De La Hoya's camp and threatened to unalive him if he beat Chavez Sr. That was a fact. That was definitely a fact. You know, a lot of people don't even know that, in all honesty. I brought that up on the live, you know, a while back, but, you know, that was true. You know, Oscar De La Hoya was in the middle of his training camp, you know, getting ready for Chavez Sr. I don't know if it was the first or the second fight. I can't recall, but regardless, you know, them cartel dudes came over in the middle of his training camp while he was training and pretty much said that, you know, if something happened to Chavez Sr., you know, they would hurt him. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine the pressure that Oscar De La Hoya had went through in the lead up to that fight. And he probably had thoughts of canceling the fight because him and his family's safety was at risk. You feel what I'm saying? Derek Morse, my boy Derek Morse said, real quick, y'all, did anybody see the Schofield Mason sparring? I definitely saw it, brother, and we're going to talk about it tonight. We definitely going to talk about that tonight, and how, you know, I seen people saying, oh, why would Abdullah Mason do that? You know, that was classless and all this different stuff. But I got the perfect video right here as to why that sparring was leaked in the first place. I don't know who leaked it in particular. I don't know if it was Fight Hype. I don't know what platform was responsible for letting this film go. But regardless, we got it. We've all seen it. And I'm going to give you guys my interpretation of, you know, what I saw in the sparring session. And in all honesty, I'm going to play the video live right here for y'all to not to watch, because I don't know if they're going to do some type of copyrights. You know, YouTube be acting funny. but I'm gonna give you guys my opinion. I'm gonna give you guys like, you know, what I see from the sparring session, because from what I understand, and it's not like the Schofields can deny that it's done, because you can hear Auntie Sco talking in the background, and his voice is pretty unique. You know what I'm saying? Not many people sound like Auntie Sco, so we definitely gonna talk about that. And you know, it's just sparring at the end of the day. You feel what I'm saying? So it's not like, this is like the end all be all, and like this just like this isn't gonna be put on box track or anything like that. You feel what I'm saying? But it's always good to watch some sparring. I love watching sparring. That's one of my favorite things to do as a coach. Breaking down sparring film, and like one of my favorite sparring sessions to watch was Roberto Duran and Nigel Benn. Um, there was a few. Like I remember Tommy Hitman Hearns with Muhammad Ali. That Devin Haney and Javante Davis sparring that got put out not too long ago, about a year or so ago. That was something that was intriguing to watch as well. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely gonna talk about it, man. You feel what I'm saying? But let's actually bring up the some solid news in terms of fight announcements, man. It's something that I'm really happy to see. Because everybody knows that David Benavidez is one of my favorite fighters in the entire sport of boxing. So I was really waiting to see what was going on with David Benavidez. I wanted to see exactly what his next move was. Uh, You know what I mean? And because they was talking about him possibly fighting Callum Smith and how he was in negotiations with Callum Smith. And I thought that was a brilliant fight because, obviously he can't get the Bivol or Better Bees right now because they caught up with each other. He already defeated David Morrell. You know what I mean? So it's like, what's the next best opportunity? And I was thinking that Callum Smith would have been the perfect opportunity. But I was hearing that Callum Smith and Anthony Yarde were actually going to fight each other. And considering the fact that Callum Smith has an interim belt, from what I understand, I think it's not the WBC, because now David Benavidez has a WBC full legit world title. I don't know if it's the WBA or the WBO. I'm gonna actually take a look at that. Let's actually take a look at that real quick. Callum Smith currently has the WBO interim light heavyweight title of the world. So I was saying, all right, since you can't get none of these major titles out right now, besides the WBC that was currently given to you as a result of Dimitri Bivol not fighting you, just collect them interim belts, because them interim belts will put you in position um to get the major belts. If David Benavidez can't get these major titles after just getting a WBC, grab the interim titles. Them interim titles are gonna put you in position to actually get the legitimate belts. And whoever has the interim title, they're the second best behind the official world champions. So I was a big fan of that. You know what I mean? I was hoping that David Benavidez was able to lock that in, but I had this feeling that Callum Smith and Anthony Yarde were going to fight each other and pretty much leave David Benavidez up out of the picture. You know what I mean? Anonymous said Eddie basically said it was a money issue with the Callum Smith fight. I mean that's what it comes down to a lot of the time. So I'm not necessarily surprised with that. Maybe Callum Smith felt like David Benavidez was like a draw. You know what I mean? He was a big name, so he was actually looking. And if he was gonna put his reputation on the line against David Benavidez, and probably understand that he was gonna come in on the B side, he wanted to be compensated properly. And maybe they were shooting numbers at him that he wasn't really, recognizing or really feeling. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they shot them same numbers at Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde seen the opportunity. I think he understands that, this might be his last shot at a legit world title. You feel what I mean? Because when we look at Anthony Yarde, he's fought for a world title before. From what I understand, Sergey Kovalev was champion when Anthony Yarde fought him, and he came up short. And then Canelo Alvarez shortly, came behind that tough fight and took that belt off of Sergey Kovalev. You know what I mean? So I think that Anthony Yarde understands that this may be his last opportunity. So he's going for it. So I give a lot of props to Anthony Yarde for that. Anthony Yarde, I remember when he was coming up and everybody was, putting a lot of stock behind him, and was really pulling for him and thinking that he was going to be the next best champion. And, I think that he didn't really meet up to people's initial expectations. However, he has shown to have a lot of heart, not really necessarily run from challenges. Um, you know what I mean? And of course, he had came up short with one of the biggest punchers. This also slipped my mind. One of the biggest punchers, not only in the light heavyweight division, but in the entire world of boxing, and Artur Beterbiev. So, hopefully, I'm not gonna say hopefully, but maybe in uh Anthony Yarde's mind, he's looking at this as like third time's the charm. You know what I mean? He came up short in his last two opportunities. You know what I mean? So maybe he's looking at this one as like, yo, this is a crossroads fight for me. If I lose to David Benavidez, I'll never have that shot of becoming world champion again, or at least fighting for another world title. You know what I mean? Because at that point, you're gonna be known for losing to Kovalev, losing to Beterbiev, both stoppage losses, and then you going in there with the top guy outside of the better Beeves and the Bivels and David Benavidez. So you really got to put up a shut up, man. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Anthony Yarde for taking on this opportunity. He's still dangerous. He still has, some great athleticism, explosiveness. He could definitely punch. He's tough. You know what I mean? He can be beat. He can be packed up and put up out of there, but he's tough and he's definitely going to provide some obstacles for David Benavidez to, get through. So this is a good fight for David Benavidez. A salute to him for going into the smoke. Going up against the best quality opposition available. You know, I remember they were saying that David Morrell he was being ducked by David Benavidez, and David Benavidez fought him. And ever since he's been at light heavyweight, and especially like his last little fights he had at 168, he's been taking on all big challenges. And as boxing fans, we gotta respect that. Whether we are the biggest fans of David Benavidez or not, we got to respect how the way he moving. I love it. I love it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what I'm rocking with at this point. He said, "Yo, is that the fight this weekend?" If we're talking about Benavidez and Anthony Yarde, no. Turkey Al-Sheikh has confirmed both of them fighting for November, so that's going to be happening on. That's going to be happening later on this year. You know what I mean? Not this season. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have seen David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde fight this summer, but that's just not realistic at this time. They will be returning in November instead. But just to go off of the Ring Magazine's announcements, it says announced David Benavidez will defend his WBC light heavyweight world title against Anthony Yarde as he makes his Riyadh season debut in November. Turkey Al-Sheikh has confirmed. And I'm actually happy that Anthony Yarde not Anthony Yarde, Turkey Al-Sheikh and David Benavidez were able to come together to make a fight happen, because I ain't gonna lie, I did think that they were having some type of tension between each other. And I thought Turkey Al-Sheikh didn't really want to do business with Benavidez. Like, I remember that real monster comment. When he was talking about Nayu and Inoue, he was like, "No, the real monster, like the real monster." Like, he emphasized that. David Benavidez calls himself the Mexican monster. So he was kind of, I don't know if he was, maybe that was a language barrier. I don't know what the case was, but and I remember times where David Benavidez had turned down fights from Turkey Al-Sheikh, and we all know Turkey don't like to be told no. So I was really under the impression that these guys weren't going to be able to work for a while. And Turkey Al-Sheikh has, not really been optimistic about matching fights with David Benavidez. You know what I'm saying? Like, he said that he was going to attempt to convince Canelo to fight Benavidez, but he was never really headstrong on making that fight happen. He gave it to Bud instead, who happens to be a Riyadh season ambassador. And then uh, there was a few situations, you know what I mean, in my opinion, that David Benavidez could have been in position to fight. Like the Bivol situation. He pretty much told Bivol to go the other way and don't give David Benavidez that opportunity. Do the trilogy instead. So he hasn't really prioritized David Benavidez, is what I'm trying to say. You feel what I'm saying? So, that's just my observation. So I'm glad that, they were able to sit down and come to some type of agreement. And I'm looking forward to seeing David Benavidez make his Riyadh season debut against Anthony Yarde for the WBC light heavyweight title of the world. You can't get the Bivels, you can't get the better beefs. So take the next best option. And at this point, Callum Smith, I guess, he wasn't happy with the money that they was offering him. Anthony Yarde was, so we got this fight instead. That's just how the business of boxing goes sometimes. So salute to Benavidez. I'm looking forward to seeing them fight in November. And according to you know, what I've been hearing, that November card is gonna be absolutely fucking lit. You feel what I'm saying? Um, I heard Turkey Al Sheikh say like the fights that he wants on that undercard. Um, I can't find that article as of right now, but if he's able to get that shit done, bro, let me see. Let me see if I can actually find that real quick before we get into this. Let's see. Damn, so this means that Brian Norman and Devin Haney gonna be on the same card. If this is all correct, on the same card, Brian Norman and Devin Haney gonna be on the same card as David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde, bro. This shit is gonna be super fucking lit, bro. So this is everything boxing. So I actually found it. Fight Turkey Al Sheikh has said that he wants to make for a Riyadh season card in November. Number one, Jerron Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. Now, this is all, you know, none of this is official, so let's not get our hopes up too crazy or anything like that. But number one, Boots versus Virgil. Number two, David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde, which is already agreed to. Devin Haney versus Brian Norman Jr., which is also already agreed to. So that's already lit, having them two fights on the same card. Then William Cepeda versus Andy Cruz. Of course, I'm sure that's dependent on maybe even if William Cepeda comes up short against Shakur Stevenson, which I think is bound to happen. That's still a great fight between William Cepeda and Andy Cruz. That's a hell of a fight, actually. I like that fight. Christian Mbili versus Lester Martinez. That's a good fucking fight. Martin Bacoli versus Moses Itoma. I'm sorry. If I'm fucking up his last name, man, I apologize, man. I always had trouble saying that last name, but regardless, we all know who Moses is. That's a crazy fight. You know what I mean? As long as this motherfucking Martin Bacoli is training, you know what I mean, getting that weight up off his fat ass and not dirty whining, that's actually a very dangerous fight for Moses to take at this point in his career. So if they able to put that together, that'll be absolutely phenomenal. And that card might just be up there with that card that Turkey Al Sheikh put together with Dimitri Bivol and Beterbiev as the, you know, the headliner. You know what I'm saying? That card from that card that we experienced, you know, with Shakur Stevenson and Josh Padley and, you know, stuff like that. I think this card will be just, if they're able to get all of these guys to agree to fight each other in November, that'll be phenomenal. That'll be absolutely phenomenal. But we'll see. We'll see. Um, if you asking me personally, I don't know if Boots and Virgil is happening in November. To be honest with you, I don't know if Virgil Ortiz is going to come back off of that hand injury. Going straight into a Jerron Ennis fight. I don't know. I think he want to test that hand before, you know, going up against, you know, one of the biggest tests of his career, if not the biggest test in his career in Jerron Ennis. You know what I'm saying? Uh, And I think Jerron Ennis will probably go for like some type of title in his first fight at 54 before he goes into a Virgil Ortiz fight. So I don't know if that happens in November, but if they're able to get that done, that's phenomenal. I salute to both of them if they put that together. You feel what I mean? Ralphie Ray goes in the building. What up? He said this right here is the card of the year if they can put it together and everybody agrees. That's a fact. Like if you say anything different, it's like, all right, well, show me a card that's better than that. You're not gonna be able to find one. So you know, I think that we could agree on that unanimously. You feel what I mean? But yeah, man. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about during that whole situation, man. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. We got 23 people. If we could get 23 likes, that'd be very much appreciated. We on the road to 4K. Shout out to everybody that's helped contributing to the mission. You feel what I mean? Anonymous said, bro, that fight ain't happening next. I don't really believe that either, but you know, I don't know. Money can have you make some exceptions, man. So I'm not gonna rule that fight out totally yet, but I'm not the most optimistic in regards to that fight happening in November. If anything, I think it happens next year, probably midway through next year. That's my opinion. But anyways, let's talk about this, man. Cause I came across a pleasant surprise after I left the boxing gym earlier today. I seen a notification on my phone from the group chat, and somebody in the group chat, I think it was anonymous, most likely, posted the link to a sparring session between Floyd Schofield and Abdullah Mason. And I'm like, damn, where the hell did this come from? 'Cause I seen it on like Fight Hype's platform and stuff like that. And I think it's about like a 3 to 4 minute clip, exactly like one round of sparring between Abdullah Mason and Kid Austin. And when you look at it, it's definitely them. Abdullah Mason got an Abdullah Mason shirt on. You can't really see, and the quality wasn't the best in all honesty, but you could tell that it's Kid Austin, not only because of how the way he fights in the ring and his style, but you could hear Auntie Sco in the background. You know what I'm saying? So it was like undeniable at that point that this was definitely a legit sparring session, because you know what you know what YouTube be doing. Like I remember they put up a clip of like, and you can see his Teofimo Lopez beating up some black boy or whatever, and they was trying to say that was Jaron Ennis. And I'm like, man, stop it, man. Like, what is y'all even talking about? So people be capping. You know what I mean? People will see that, they'll see that one of the sparring partners has similar characteristics to somebody, and then they'll just be like, oh, that's him, and it's not him the whole time. You know what I mean? But one thing about Auntie School's voice is that it's pretty unique, and it stands out from everybody else's voice, if you get what I'm saying. So without a doubt, this is definitely authentic footage. And I believe in an interview that had just came out right after Floyd Schofield uh knocked out Tevin Farmer, Auntie Sco was talking about how they destroyed Abdullah Mason in sparring and how that fight will be easy and his son's the greatest of all time. So I remember that playing back in my head a little bit, but I had actually came across an interview on Mill City Boxing where it's just Kid Austin talking, which is extremely rare. So I went and I checked it out, and I want y'all to hear this for y'all own voice. I mean, for y'all own ears. You know what I'm saying? This is his thoughts on Abdullah Mason and his performance against Nakatani. I mean, not Nakatani, Nakatila. Sorry, I'm still waking up, y'all. His performance against Nakatila, and he puts in a special request on Mill City's interviews. Let's hear it.
Abdullah Mason, if you guys would fight later, he says it would be worse because I would get better. We all know that you would get better as well in the same time. What do you think about Abdullah Mason's comments saying that you don't want to fight him?
Okay. Tell him to release that sparring they got. And we could talk. I mean, that sparring was only like 2-3 years ago, so yeah. But no disrespect to Abdullah, sparring is sparring, but I get tired of, fighters and people who say that, because what, y'all think I'm wasting my time? Y'all think I'm in here just one?
Now hold up real quick. Y'all heard the audio. Y'all heard what that man said, and this only came out about a week ago. You see what I mean? This came out about a week ago. I'm gonna play this back again. You know what I mean? And this is what you call pulling somebody's card. You feel what I'm saying? This is you pulling somebody's card. You challenging that man. You pretty much insinuating that you got the best of Abdullah Mason in the sparring session, and if you feel like, and Kid Austin was pretty much saying at this time that if you feel like this shit was so easy, like if you feel like I'm easy working, that it'll, fighting you later down the line will only get worse because you getting better. Why don't you release that sparring session that we just had on tape about 2 to 3 years ago? This is Kid Austin's words, not mine. Let's actually replay this back.
Okay. Tell him.
Does that entertaining negotiations again with Abdullah Mason, me asking Abdullah Mason if you guys would fight later, he says it would be worse because I would get better. We all know that you would get better as well in the same time. What do you think about Abdullah Mason's comments saying that you don't want to fight him?
Okay. Tell him to release that sparring they got. Man, we could talk. I mean, that sparring was only like 2-3 years ago, so yeah. But no disrespect to Abdullah, sparring is sparring, but I get tired of, fighters and people who say that, because what, y'all think I'm wasting my time? Y'all think I'm in here just wanting to yeah, of course you gotta make money to feed your family, but come on, be for real. You think I'm just in here just to lollygag? I'm in here to fight the best. Like, it's crazy. It just be crazy to me. Like, and I will say Abdullah, he's gonna be one of the best. You don't think I want that on my resume? You don't think I want Shakur or let's say Tevin Keyshawn on my resume? Like, come on.
Those are Kid Austin's words. So he requested that the sparring session be released, and that must have got to somebody in Abdullah Mason's camp, because within a week, that sparring session was released. So I have the sparring session right here. Like I said, I'm not gonna put the actual video out on the live because they be moving funny. You know what I mean? They be like, oh, that that's my property, blah blah blah. That came from my channel, and I done had situations where like I would show a little bit of a clip and then I'll be forced to either delete the video or mute a segment due to that. So people just funny money when it comes to that. So I mean, I'm not even gonna take that chance, but I'm gonna give you guys my take on the sparring session between Abdullah Mason and Floyd Schofield, and it pretty much is gonna be. It's pretty much aligned with everybody else is saying, but I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts. I'm gonna give you guys like a detailed breakdown on Abdullah Mason versus Kid Austin. You know what I mean? So let's get to it. The video's up, like I said, a little more than 3 minutes. Yo, Mazuma, after this chat, the group chat, Turkey put out some more news about November. Okay. Should we get into that first, or should I just talk about the sparring right now? Let me see something. Because I'm right here on Twitter right now, so let me see what they talking about. Woo-hoo-wee! Yo, what the fuck? Oh man, speaking of Abdullah Mason, no, I'm sorry, I gotta put this out right now. Just speaking of Abdullah Mason, man, shout out to Abdullah. Turkey Al-Sheikh puts out a post 8 minutes ago, live off the motherfucking press, man. Turkey Al-Sheikh says a battle of undefeated fighters for the world title. Ring ambassador Abdullah Mason will collide with Sam Noakes for the vacant WBO lightweight title as part of the massive Riyadh season event in November. So y'all can just go ahead, book the shit, man. It's good. Everything is Gucci. So as of right now, if we talking about agreed fights, we got David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde. We got Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. And now we got Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes. Sam Noakes. You says that Sam Noakes has a loss? Not from what I understand, brother. You got the right Sam Noakes. Or am I tripping? From what I understand, Sam Noakes is an... Oh, no, he actually does have a loss. I'm sorry. He does have a loss, right? Or am I tripping? No. He lost. No, you must have been looking at like the amateurs. He lost in the amateurs. I don't know if you looked at his combination of amateur wins and his, because what people do on Box Rec nowadays, they'll combine. You can combine the amateur record with your pro record. But as a professional, he's 17-0 with 15 knockouts. So Turkey Al-Sheikh post still stands. He says a battle of undefeated fighters for the world title, man. So we got Abdullah Mason, Devin Haney, Brian Norman, David Benavidez on the same card. You gotta salute Turkey Al-Sheikh for doing stuff like that. Sometimes he do shit that we don't feel like is best for the sport of boxing, or sometimes he may avoid certain things that takes away from the sport of boxing, whatever the case is, or deals with people that we feel like doesn't have the sport's best interest, obviously. But shit like this, man, is why I'm grateful to have Turkey Al-Sheikh in the sport. And, I've seen a few critics come out and say, "Oh man, I wish the fights were here. I wish the fights were here, but but since it's over there, man, I'll probably never cover it." But man, shut up, man. Y'all worried about the wrong shit. I can give a fuck about where the fights is at as long as I'm able to see it with my own two eyes. I don't care where they do it. These motherfuckers can fight on Mars as long as they got a camera that can stream to motherfucking Earth and I can see it. I'm happy. Shout out to the boy Slime with the $2 cash app. He said, for that whack ass performance, I called Ice sorry. This dude Slime is an absolute rebel, man. An absolute rebel. You need to seek God. Something's wrong with you. Slime has confirmed that he was the one that called ice on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. for that shitty performance against Jake Paul. The hate is very real, ladies and gentlemen. That boy Slime needs therapy. Now, let's y'all heard that interview. Floyd Schofield was like, "Oh, if y'all feel like I'm easy work, if y'all feel like it's gonna be so much worse because you gotten better, man, why don't you release that sparring session that we did 2 to 3 years ago?" The Masons heard that. They was like, "All right, bet. Let's actually show the people what happened in this sparring session about 2 to 3 years ago." So let's take a look at this sparring, and I'm gonna give you guys, my full my reaction to it. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into it. So off the rip, and this is clearly edited to favor Abdullah Mason, but the video also favors Abdullah Mason as well. You see Floyd Schofield coming in with his head, on the center line, and he's just running into straight shots from Abdullah Mason. Good jab. He's jabbing Floyd Schofield on the way in, just interrupting his offense, and Abdullah Mason is changing levels and keeping that jab in his face, and it seems like Floyd Schofield is having a hard time establishing his offense off of the rip. I don't know how many rounds they did, but you could tell that Floyd Schofield is having trouble figuring out a solution for Abdullah Mason. One of the reasons why I know that is because he has switched to southpaw, and I know that Kid Austin's capable of switching to southpaw, but typically when you do that, it's because you're trying to find another angle, because the angle that you're shooting from, which is orthodox, you can't really find any openings. Very smart boxer from Abdullah Mason. Good feints. He's keeping Kid Austin on his toes. And because he's keeping Kid Austin on his toes, he's having trouble establishing his offense. Yep, he's running he's running Kid Austin into shots. He's check hooking him.
Yup, leave it out there like that. Yup.
Wow. Completely controlling the pace of the fight with his lead hand alone. And even landing clean shots on the inside as well.
Keep it out there. Keep that stick out there, champ.
Go jab. He's hooking off the jab. And when Kid Austin's, getting frustrated and trying to swarm his way in, Abdullah Mason is pivoting around him. So it looked like Kid Austin had a little bit of moment, but like I said, this is just reckless, Sean Porter-esque, solutions, I guess you would say. He got in his Sean Porter bag, couldn't really box him at a distance, so he's trying to swarm him and fuck up, his momentum, I guess you would say. But Abdullah Mason definitely ain't going for it. Hey. Ooh. Kid Austin continues to smother himself. Ooh. So now, so it's just based on this is showing a whole lot. I only know it's 3 minutes, but I'm gonna tell y'all this. Everything that Kid Austin is bringing to the table, Abdullah Mason is completely neutralizing, is in complete control throughout the entire course of this sparring session. There's not one time there's not one part of this video where I'm thinking like, okay, Floyd doing this thing. All right, like Floyd picking it up. No, it's like everything that Schofield is doing, Abdullah Mason has a solution for, whether he's, boxing from the outside, whether he's switching southpaw, whether he's trying to lunge in with combinations. Just seems like Abdullah Mason just has this man figured out. And I'm going to give Abdullah Mason credit for this because, I know fighters that, are capable of making adjustments and picking up fighters' timing, but it gives them it takes them a few rounds in order to do so. Well, we've seen that with elite level guys. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're able to make the adjustment. You know what I mean? That's a special ability to have. But Abdullah Mason seems like he's adjusted within seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm seeing this dude find Kid Austin's timing, and he's running him into left hands. And there's a segment of the video that that's about to come up where he hits him with a beautiful uppercut to the body, and it looked like it got. I'm not gonna say that Kid Austin was hurt or he was about to get packed up or whatever, but it definitely caught his attention. You see what I mean? And you could tell because he was attempting to clinch the dude. You know what I mean, and all types of stuff. So I'm gonna give Abdullah Mason his credit because his ability that just lets you know how sharp his mind is. If he's able to pick up that fighter's timing that he has no ring experience with whatsoever, if he's able to pick that up in one round and like within seconds and pick up his timing and just know what Abdullah and just get a feel for what Kid Austin is trying to do and see the punches coming before they actually land and pick up on tendencies that fast. That's a very intelligent fighter in Abdullah Mason. This ain't somebody who's just, throwing punches blindly. And no, like he's literally figuring this dude out, from a mental standpoint as well. So this is very impressive, to be honest with you. Showing great defense as well, slipping and turning, keeping that jab off of him.
Poke off that jab. Beautiful. Poke off of it.
Seeing he's listening to his corner as well. That's also what makes Abdullah Mason a special type of fighter because not every fighter listens to their coach. You know what I mean? Or absorbs or takes their advice and right away and makes the adjustment right away. This dude, Abdullah Mason, he's physically gifted as well, but he is a boxing brain as well. He has a boxing brain too. He's literally watching what his opponent's doing. He's thinking of what to put together to, throw off his opponent, what combinations to throw, you know what I mean? What defensive adjustments to make, and at the same time, he's taking advice from his corner and putting it into action right away. You see what I mean? So it's a lot going on right now, but it seems like Abdullah Mason is juggling all of these things at once, effortlessly. Good fucking jab. He's giving you all types of jabs, by the way, too. He's giving you all types of jabs. I just seen him. Well, I seen two type. The speed behind that jab. Kid Austin is having trouble getting the timing for it defensively. So that's one. Then he's actually mixing up jabs. That actually look like it split Kid Austin's guard as well. So very, very crafty individual Abdullah Mason is in the jab department alone.
Keep it out here, champ.
Kid Austin giving that side to side movement, just trying to find the opening from Abdullah.
There you go. See? Good body shot. Beautiful.
Yeah, that body shot definitely got some. I actually want to watch that again. Let's take a look. Let's take a look as to how that was set up. Kid Austin goes on the back foot, He jumps in with a jab, and Abdullah Mason times him with a beautiful left uppercut to the body. And Kid Austin is clenched up immediately and isn't really trying to let Abdullah Mason come up off of the ropes. Oh, okay, so that check hook just happened along with another body shot. And to be honest with you, if we going by the rules of boxing, that is a knockdown. A punch landed, his gloves touched the canvas. Even if it's one glove, it touched the canvas. So that's technically a knockdown. So Abdullah Mason can honestly say that he dropped Kid Austin in sparring. Even if it wasn't the flashiest knockdown or his ass ain't touched the canvas, pause. If them gloves touch the canvas off of getting hit with a clean shot, that is a knockdown. Check hook, put him down. Then he runs into another body shot. It looked like it threw Kid Austin off balance a little bit.
2 seconds.
Man, Abdullah was absolutely cooking in that sparring session. So, like I said, sparring to sparring. You know, we can't really get too deep into that. And like you, I genuinely believe that both of these guys have gotten better um in the 2-3 years since the sparring session. You know what I mean? But Kid Austin, you called out for it. You told them to release the sparring session. I don't know if you had a different point of view or if they actually put out the full sparring session. I don't know how many rounds y'all did, but if y'all only did one round, 'cause I think I remember Abdullah Mason saying they only spar. I think they only spar one round. But whatever the case is, if it was only one round that y'all did, and that's what you told them to release, I don't know what you saw yourself doing in that sparring session. You look completely outclassed, brother. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, you know, your speed looked like it was there. You know what I mean? Your aggressiveness looked like it was there, but it just wasn't enough for somebody like Abdullah Mason. Abdullah Mason looked like he was the more polished fighter in that sparring session. He was taking advantage of your aggressiveness and running you into shots, and he really exposed your inability to defend the jab. To be honest with you, a solid jab. You were getting turned effortlessly. You were being timed effortlessly. And it looked like, I mean, you definitely touched the canvas, whether you was off balance. I'm not saying you was hurt or anything like that, but that punch made you off balance. You touched the canvas, therefore that's a knockdown. You know what I'm saying? And it looked like you were visibly hurt to the body as well. Your body language didn't look right after you got hit clean with that body shot. So I think it's safe to say that Abdullah Mason looked like the superior fighter in that sparring session. Now, does that necessarily mean that that could happen in an actual fight? No, not really. Because, like I said, there's different things, there's different elements that play into a professional fight in comparison to sparring. However, I think it's safe to say that Abdullah Mason has only gotten sharper, has only gotten more dangerous since that sparring session. And like I said, Kid Austin, especially after the Tevin Farmer win, what I mean, he got some momentum on his side as well. But I see why they're not necessarily looking for an Abdullah Mason fight right now. It makes all the sense in the world, to be honest with you. Why would they go fight Abdullah Mason this early on for what 1.1 million that was offered when they could go continue to build they experience and fight guys like Tevin Farmer and things like that, and build themselves up in the pro ranks. What I mean? I don't think they're ready to put themselves in a cash out situation right now where they understand that that may possibly be they last big payday. You think they want Abdullah Mason to be the one to fuck up their momentum? Absolutely not right now. So they're gonna keep getting these little bags. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, that's how I think I think that was the perspective of the Normans as well with Jerron Ennis. You know what I mean? Like, we gonna act like we're entertaining the fight. We gonna act like we're interested in the fight. But in reality, that's not a fight that we really want right now. And why would we go fight Jerron Ennis for this type of money when we could go, get 3 easy guys and get the same amount of pay? You know what I mean? So, I think that's the situation right now. You feel what I mean? But seeing that sparring session, there's definitely a difference between the two. And that sparring session didn't look good for Kid Austin. So for him to call out, the Masons to release the sparring footage, and that was actually what had happened during the sparring session, it don't make you look good, brother. It don't. Bellaface said he's a WBA #1 contender, right? He is. He is. After the Tevin Farmer fight, he is now the #1 guy for the WBA title in the lightweight division. Abdullah Mason, I believe he's the #2 guy in the WBO, but he's actually about to get a title shot. According to Turkey Al-Sheikh, he's about to get a title shot before Floyd Schofield. So if he comes out successful against Sam Noakes, which I believe he can be, I think he could beat Sam Noakes. You know what I mean? Especially with what I've seen in that sparring session, that jab, the hand, the speed on that jab, his understanding of distance and his timing is absolutely impeccable. How composed he is in the ring and how he sees shots and reacts. Uh, uh, he reacts well with his defense, and I really think that he'll beat Sam Noakes up. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Like I said, Sam Noakes, he seems to be tough, durable. He got heavy hands, and if they get into an inside, war type of fight, he might have some success against somebody like Abdullah. But with Abdullah being a taller, rangier fighter who just seems to be the sharper puncher, not the harder puncher, but the sharper puncher, I think that he could really break Sam Noakes up and possibly stop him. So I just think that right now, you know what I mean, they focus on building up, Kid Austin. Golden Boy, they released the Golden Boy DMs that they had, prior to the Shakur Stevenson fight coming together. It was like, oh man, you don't need no fights right now. We can keep you undefeated for this long. Why would you need it? And then they forced De La Hoya hand. The fight never happened anyway, but that lets you know what Golden Boy wants to do with Floyd Schofield. They don't want to give him an Abdullah Mason right away. They want to keep this kid undefeated. They want to keep building up his record, build him up to be some sort of star because, they star over here. The last star that they got over in their roster right now having mental health episodes right now and stuff like that. So they trying to build up Kid Austin. I mean, they want to keep him undefeated. They want to build up his name so that, once there's a much stronger demand for the Abdullah Mason fight, then they could talk about cashing him out. But I don't really see that fight happening right now. That fight's not in line with the business of boxing right now. It's in line with boxing fans, but it's not in line with the business of boxing. You feel what I mean? That's just my personal opinion. Let me actually see these comments because it's hard for me to see these comments through the phone because of how small the comment section is. But yeah, it's a lot of trolls in the building. We ain't paying them no mind today. We ain't paying them no mind today. We not even gonna respond to them. So they haven't set a main event for the November card yet. I mean, who cares? Who cares? Like we getting official announcements for who's being added to the card. You feel what I mean? So why who cares about who the main event is if all the fights are bangers? I wouldn't necessarily care. I think you worried about the wrong shit, Teach. Did you hear the fights that was just announced on the card? Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde. Sam Noakes versus Abdullah Mason. All championship fights. Who cares on who the main event is? If you giving me, if the card is straight smoke, I could care less who the main event. Like like we boxing fans, bro. Like if we get in the fights that we want to see, who cares what line they're on? Who cares about the lineup? I just care about big fights happening. Care less how the lineup is set up. You know what I mean? That's why like I seen people when Dimitri Bivol and Beterbiev fought each other. I seen and Shakur Stevenson was on the undercard. Man, Shakur Stevenson is a world champion. Why is he? What man? He's the more popular fighter. Why is he on Bivol and Beterbiev's undercard? Who gives a fuck? And I know Shakur was thinking the same thing. Who cares? I'm getting the biggest payday of my career, and I'm on the card with other world champions. I don't care what, man. You think Shakur cared about being the main event, bro? You think he cared? Like Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz the main event over him. You think he cared? No. Well, he did say that like he felt like he should have been the main event, but it wasn't enough of a problem for him to pull out of the card or not or refuse to be on the card. Not for what? It's a huge card. There's going to be a lot of attention. There's going to be a lot of eyes on the card, and a lot of people tuning in for Shakur Stevenson, himself. So who cares how the way the fight's lined up? Benavidez, Abdullah Mason, Devin Haney, Brian Norman on the same card. You can arrange that however you want. However you want. I'm watching it regardless. I think fans just be worried about the wrong shit, man. Like, as boxing fans, you got to understand what you want out of the sport. You feel what I mean? And all boxing fans should enjoy getting the best fights that the sport can offer. And then y'all call for the biggest fights. And then this ain't me coming at you, Teach. I'm not. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You've been around for a minute. You're a big supporter of the channel, so salute. But it's like boxing fans, what do boxing fans want? The best fight and the best, right? Typically, the best fight and the best, because there's some people that say that, when they favorite fighter get lined up with another good fighter, what I mean, they're making excuses for why their favorite fighter shouldn't fight him. Man, but what does he bring to the table? Man, he's not a draw. Like we hear boxing fans say that, you already know they scared money. Man, he's not a draw. Who did he beat? Who did he beat? Come on, man. Like, come on, man. He didn't fight anybody. Yeah, but, all right, well, if you feel like that, then it should be easy for your boy, right? Yeah, man, but what does my guy gain out of it? You know? Like, man, shut up. Shut your scary ass up. You over here trying to cherry pick for your favorite fighter. Be a fan and shut the fuck up. Spider-Man said Mazuma not trying to gossip. One platform is reporting Cruz and Mortataya. I mean, that's a fight that should be spoken about, to be honest with you. And whether Andy Cruz fights, you know, Raymond Mortataya or William Cepeda, those are both great fights for Andy Cruz. And if he comes out successful against either one of them win him a world title, and he could become world champion, or he beats William Cepeda, and now he might get a title shot directly afterwards. So I think in either direction he goes, he either be a world champion or on the cusp of fighting for a world title. So I think each one will, benefit his career tremendously. So, I like it. Bella Face said, did anybody else hear about the one-away rematch clause for Norman Jr. in the Haney fight? Or is it just a rumor? I did hear about that. I don't know if that's confirmed. Maybe I could reach out to Brian Norman Sr. about that. But look, man, I think Brian Norman understands that he'll likely be the B side in this situation, and he just using if that one-way rematch clause is true. Maybe that's him just using his leverage as a champion. Maybe that's just his management, like securing, in case they come up short, they get another fight, another payday. I just think that's a smart move on their manager's part. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't heard anybody confirm that. I haven't heard the Normans or the Haney speak about the one-way rematch clause. But if it is, then that's just a smart move on Norman's team's part. You know what I mean? They coming in on the B side. They're gonna get a nice little bag for this fight. But in case they lose, they can activate a rematch clause and get another bag and another opportunity for a world title shot. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm not the biggest fan of rematch clauses, but you better believe these managers gonna do whatever benefits they fighter. This man Anthony Joshua done put one-way rematch clauses on so many of his world title fights. That's why he was always able to get a rematch after he lost a fight. I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. Hugo Juice says Mason versus Noakes for the November card. Yep, he was just speaking about that. Phenomenal fight. Dangerous fight for both guys, to be honest with you. But like I said, I think Abdullah Mason got too many tools for him. Unless Abdullah get a little bit greedy and try to go, punch for punch with Sam Noakes and get hit with a good shot, I really feel like that's the only way I can see Sam Noakes winning. That's the only way. You know what I mean? If Abdullah keeps that speed, speed and that jab on him, and when Sam Noakes try to violate, he just run him into some shit. I think he could really break Sam Noakes up. Once Sam Noakes gets a little bit, cautious or whatever the case is, that's when Abdullah could, start putting them punches together and start lighting him up. Abdullah is too sharp of a puncher. The speed and the accuracy, man. Sam Noakes is gonna be getting hit with shit that he not even gonna see for real, or even anticipate. I really see Sam Noakes getting broken up bad. I see Sam Noakes getting stopped. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And no disrespect to Sam Noakes. This ain't me making accusations or nothing like that. But I hope they doing some type of VADA testing for that fight. I hope everybody on the card, when y'all fighting at an elite level, man, VADA, WADA, USADA, whoever, I hope somebody involved with, making sure everybody fighting clean. You feel what I mean? I hope Top Rank is making that their business because they got a young diamond in they camp and they don't want no drug cheats to, take advantage of, that young kid that, has a whole lot of potential. Hopefully there's some, hopefully there's some drug testing in place. The Last Crescendo 3. I think Bivol versus Benavidez the main event. I mean, that's possible. But if they add I haven't heard them announce the Bivol Better Be 3 yet. But wouldn't that be a little awkward to have Benavidez, Bivol, and Better be in the same room together on the same card? That'd be fire. I'm trying to tell you, Sam Noakes really thrives on fighting in close range. That's like once he closes that gap and he lets those punches go, that's when he does the most damage. And it seemed like he's always forward. So usually when I see that from a boxing coach's perspective, something tells me that one, and they don't always mean that. Sometimes you just fight that fight because you don't need to fight another fight. So, or sometimes you just go towards that avenue because that your opponent not forcing you to go anywhere else. So I'm not saying he lacks versatility, but like a lot of his highlights looks like the same shit over and over and over again. And I ain't knocking it because it's worked in the 17 fights that he's had, and he's got 15 knockouts. So he's shooting and he's scoring. You feel what I'm saying? But I think with Abdullah Mason's reach, with his overall boxing ability, his hand speed, and his precision, I'm telling you, the precision is going to be something different for Sam Noakes. Sam Noakes has never been in there with somebody who has been as well versed as Abdullah Mason, and he's never been in there with somebody who places punches as well as Abdullah Mason. I'm telling you, his timing and his precision is incredible. Just off of that, and that was 2-3 years ago. That kid Austin Sparring, like, bro, like I said, I don't know how many rounds they did, but let's say that was just one round that they did. The way that he was so quick to find Kid Austin's timing, the way he was able to figure out Kid Austin's timing and just running him in the shot so effortlessly, that's very impressive from a coach's point of view. I've seen fighters not really start to pick up time until like the third or fourth round. He did that within that round alone. So that kid is very sharp, man. It's like if Sam Noakes don't clip him, I don't see how he beats Abdullah Mason. Who's Mason's best win? I guess you're gonna have to go with Nakatila. I never said that Abdullah Mason had like this big, incredible resume, and stuff like that and stuff like that. And you could make the case that Abdullah Mason never been in there with somebody like Sam Noakes. That's what makes it a great fight. That's what makes it a great fight. You know what I mean? But let's not act like Abdullah Mason ain't been wanting, smoke with the top guys. He been saying that he want these fights. Keisha was talking about, oh, let's make this fight happen next. Whole time he knew he wasn't staying at 35, and he looked like an absolute goofy. You feel what I'm saying? He gets stripped of his title now. Abdullah fighting for it. He tried to fight Giovanni Cabrera. I thought that would have been a good little, step up fight for him. But Giovanni got injured from what I understand. So can we really get mad? Is Tevin Farmer win better? Yes, it is, because Tevin Farmer is a more accomplished fighter than Sam Noakes. Yes, Tevin Farmer is a more accomplished fighter than Sam Noakes. Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you what, Abdullah Mason is going to be further ahead, even though Kid Austin may have the better win on his resume. Abdullah Mason is going to be ahead of him because he going to have that world title around his waist. So while one person has a better win, he's still going to be a contender, while the guy who has the less significant win on his resume has a world title around his waist. Which one would you rather be? The guy with the better win on his resume, or the guy who's actually a world champion? Something to think about. Something to think about. Bella Faye said that Reynoso camp is super dirty. I hope Crawford is advocating for Canelo to be constantly tested and the results should be released. I agree with you. I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't really see how that wouldn't make sense. You know what I mean? I feel like once you've tested positive, I feel like I said, at an elite level, everybody should be getting tested. Everybody should be signing up for 365 random blood and urine tester. VADA, that VADA anti-doping tester, whatever the case is, Everybody needs to be involved in that. And guys who choose not to do that, I'm automatically looking at you as if you're suspicious. I'm sorry. I don't care how accomplished of a fighter you are or how young you are or whatever. If you never won a world title, if you are ranked in a sanctioning body, the WBA, the WBC, the WBO, the IBF, you need to be signed up in some type of anti-doping testing. You need to, like I said, WADA, USADA, whatever anti-doping administration, whichever one, you need to be involved in that. If, like me personally, like this shouldn't be an option. You feel what I mean? And I see the WBC does it. Like you have to enroll in order to be in, and that makes a shit ton of sense. Shout out to the WBC for that. But the WBA needs to adopt that policy. The WBO needs to adopt that policy, and so does the IBF. Like this shouldn't be an option. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, I hope that Canelo Alvarez is getting drug tested. You know what I'm saying? I hope that just like how the way Turkey did Ryan Garcia, where he had him on drug testing the whole time, and in the lead up to the Rolly fight, they made sure he wasn't on no juice. They need to do the same shit to Canelo, because Canelo and Ryan got something in common. They both test pot dirty before. They both test hot for something. You feel what I mean? But I guess since Canelo's like this A-side megastar, I guess he get to call the shots, and they just got to follow in line. So maybe Canelo like, nah, I ain't doing no drug testing. You know what I'm saying? And if they try to force him to do drug testing, Canelo might walk out the door without fighting anybody. So they don't want to fuck up their money. So they probably just gonna let Canelo do whatever he want. Yeah, clean fighting is all we want. Yeah, as boxing fans, we should all strive for that. We should all strive for that. Like we want to see the best fights, and we want to see the best fights done under fair circumstances. I don't see how you could be against that. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like every time a top fighter tests positive in the sport of boxing, it leaves a black eye on the sport. You know what I'm saying? Because if a casual fan, comes to the realization that Canelo tests positive, Ryan Garcia tests positive, Jared Miller tests positive, then they be like, damn, in the casual boxing fans' mind, he be like, damn, they must be all on that motherfucking juice. What's going on? Do all these guys in boxing take steroids? We don't want that stereotype placed on us, man. Hugo Juice says the regulations in Mexico for proteins are not as strict as USA. Contamination is real, my brother. We're not about to sit here and make excuses for anybody failing drug tests. That's what we're not gonna do. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's what you're doing, but over here we ain't doing that. You know what I mean? With Canelo being the megastar that he is, and with the type of money that he has, you know what I mean? If he's aware that Mexico's protein is, heavily contaminated with substances that could make him fail a drug test, then he needs to get his, he needs to get his his meat, imported from different places that's not known for that. You know what I'm saying? Like he shouldn't be like, if that's the case, don't eat food from Mexico. Don't eat food from Mexico. Get your shit from somewhere else. Don't you train in the US? Don't Canelo train in the US? Why? Then all right, you need to eat the motherfucking food that's made over here. Yo, my girl is foolish. Time out. No, but for real though, like if you have access, like if you're this multi-millionaire that's on the path to becoming a billionaire, then you can afford to get your food from different places outside of Mexico that's not known for having contaminated meat. You feel what I'm saying? And I think, and what you're saying may be true, brother, because they raised the clenbuterol. I think the WBC raised the level of like clenbuterol that you could test positive for, because they understanding of Mexico's meat being contaminated. Okay, cool. But like, what about all these other guys? What about all these other guys that test positive in Eddie Reynoso camp? It wasn't clenbuterol with them guys. Canelo the only one in the camp that tested positive for clenbuterol, from what I understand. Oscar Valdez, he popped. Julio Cesar Martinez, he popped. Luis Neri, he popped. You know what I mean? Canelo. Who else? Who else? Am I missing somebody? Let's get a rundown. Let's get a rundown. So Canelo, Oscar Valdez, Luis Neri, Julio Cesar Martinez, Jaime Munguia, Michelle Rivera tested positive for a diuretic. So I like, that's still tested positive at the end of the day, Bella. But I don't really look at diuretics like how I look at like artificial testosterone being found in your body, like like testosterone and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And then Ryan Garcia, who used to be a skinny motherfucker with titties, he go train with Canelo Alvarez, and he all cut the fuck up like a bag of dope being over there. And then, shortly after leaving Canelo Alvarez camp, he tests positive for something. So that's 5 people that was in camp that test positive. 5 people that were actively in Canelo Alvarez's camp when they test, and then 1 person who was involved with your camp test as well. So you had 5 that was in the camp and 1 that had left the camp. 6 total fighters that tested positive for PEDs that were either with Canelo at the time or formerly with Canelo at one point in time. That shit is suspicious to me. Yeah, and I was a little bit suspicious about Andy Ruiz too. Because this motherfucker was fat his whole career. You know what I mean? All of a sudden it looked like he got like, you starting to see some type of definition where his abs at. When he came out and lost all that weight. That shit was heavily suspicious to me. But hold on, I think I just seen the comment that I wanted to address. Mark Sells Hollywood, shout out to the boy Mark. He said, people say Floyd ruined boxing, but Olympic style testing wasn't a thing until Floyd versus Mosley. That's a fact. That's a fact. Like, Floyd definitely left some things in the sport of boxing that we could have, been well without. You know what I mean? I think he did brainwash some of these guys to believe that belts don't matter, legacy don't matter, and shit like that. So I think he brainwashed some of these guys to believe things that go against, boxing or really hurt, boxing fans long term. But he did bring Olympic style drug testing into the sport of boxing. And, motherfuckers started popping dirty left and right after the fact. Started popping dirty left and right. And, there was a certain fighter that Floyd was supposed to fight. He ended up fighting him. But, when they were trying to get this Olympic style drug testing on the way, motherfuckers is talking about being scared of needles and, not doing, saying that it may take away from his performance and, all this stuff, bro. It really exposed a lot of guys. So I'm so grateful that Floyd brought that to the forefront of boxing. Yup. That boy Pac-Man was scared. Duck Floyd multiple times. Everybody talk about how Floyd avoided Pacquiao. He came to the table a few times to make that fight happen with Pacquiao. Oh, 50-50 and no fight. Bro, you built your whole name off of Floyd. You want 50-50? Crazy. Then you agreed, but you didn't want to do random blood in your intestine. This boy got tattoos on his arms, just like how I do. I got a tattoo on my ear. I got a tattoo right here on my arm. And I'm about to have a whole sleeve done, in due time. I'm not about to sit here and tell you that I'm scared of needles. Come on, man. That sounds ridiculous. Pacquiao got more tattoos than me. He talking about he's scared of needles. Crazy. And there was a few other things that, but it is what it is. It was never proven, so I can't say it. Because, Pacquiao sue niggas. That's another thing. Pacquiao will sue you if you talk crazy about him. He will sue you. But I never heard Pacquiao get criticized for that. Only Devin Haney. But yep. And then when Pacquiao started getting involved, and started getting involved with that drug test, and all of a sudden his knockout power just wasn't the same. I would challenge anybody that's fought at the lighter division. Let's say you a guy who fought at 112 pounds. I'll challenge you to move up 8 weight classes and knock dudes out. I want to see. I want to see what you got. So let's say, for instance, you fight at 122, right? Let's say you get a world title at 122. 26, 30, 35, 40, 47, 54, 60, right? From 122 to 160. If you start at 122 and you go to 160 and you still knocking dudes out, that's suspicious to me. That's suspicious to me. Just my opinion. There's weight classes for a reason. Motherfuckers moving up 8 weight classes, and you know what I mean? You was getting knocked out in the Philippines at them lower weight classes, and then you taking punches from Miguel Cotto. You taking flush punches from Miguel Cotto. He broke the bro. He was hitting you so hard, he broke the cartilage in your ear. Bleeding at you, man. You was hospitalized and all. They didn't understand how you were still able to maintain your equilibrium with how the way he broke up your ear that bad. But somehow, some way, you got through it. Crazy. I don't know. I ain't disrespecting nothing. I'm just talking. Like I said, I can't prove it, so I ain't gonna talk too crazy. But drug testing is the reason Arum kept Pac-Man from Crawford. I don't think it was drug testing that kept Pac-Man away from Crawford. I think it was Bob Arum. Bob Arum has said that he cared for Pacquiao's safety, and then on top of that, Freddie Roach didn't like the style matchup, so he strongly advised against the fight. I think it was a few people that just didn't want. I think they knew what Crawford was capable of and what had happened if Pacquiao fought him, so they just kept him away. I think it was scared money. I don't think it was drug test. I think it was scared money. But it's kind of sad to watch, you know, Thurman and Pacquiao. Thurman and Broner get them opportunities, but Crawford couldn't. It was sad, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, you dropped Shane Mosley too. But Shane Mosley done fought everybody and their mom and only hit the canvas a few times. Like rarely hit the canvas. Berlanga versus Hamza, who I got? I believe Hamza Shiraz. A lot of people underestimate Hamza Shiraz, man. I was going back and I was watching dude, bro, and he's tall, rangy, but what a lot of people don't take into consideration, other than being more skilled than Berlanga, he got some crack too. He could punch. He could punch, man. You know what I'm saying? So I honestly feel like Hamza Shiraz. I feel like Hamza Shiraz's main objective is to get Edgar Berlanga frustrated, because he one of them dudes that when he get frustrated, he abandon the game plan. You know what I mean? If he gets Edgar Berlanga outside of his game plan, and he's like, you know, pretty much going for broke and, you know, throwing all these big shots, I think that's when Hamza Shiraz can start taking advantage of that, capitalizing off of his mistakes and landing clean shots on him. And Berlanga don't got the sturdiest chin, to be honest with you. So we seen this man hit the canvas multiple times against smaller dudes and guys who weren't as good as Hamza Shiraz, in my opinion. So not only do I think Hamza Shiraz could beat Edgar Berlanga, I think he could stop Edgar Berlanga. But I'll tell you this, though. If Hamza Shiraz get a little bold in there and try to trade with Edgar Berlanga in the center of the ring type shit, Berlanga can spark him. So he got to be careful. I think he got to box a smart fight. You know what I mean? I think he got to play behind his defense and, you know, be sound with his fundamentals, bring his hands back, keep that right hand up high, because that left foot gonna come. That left hook, he gonna be launching that left hook. So he gotta be disciplined defensively. You know what I mean? And if I'm Edgar Berlanga, bro, I'm trying to get in as many 50-50 exchanges as possible. Because I don't think he's gonna beat him from like an IQ point of view. I just don't see it happening. So I think Hamza Shiraz is gonna defeat Edgar Berlanga, but I wouldn't be surprised if Edgar Berlanga clip him neither, though. You know what I mean? Will Shakur KO Cepeda? Bro, I might put some bread on that, man. I might put some bread on that. I think Shakur gonna fuck Cepeda up. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Cepeda, he training his ass off though, so really expect. See, Cepeda's gonna have to. This is the reality. He gonna have to be okay with getting hit against Shakur, and hopefully he could take Shakur punching power. You know what I mean? Because he definitely gonna run into some shots. Ain't no way you gonna step to Shakur and had the leaky defense that William Cepeda has and then not get cracked by Shakur. You feel what I'm saying? Like you gonna have to be okay with getting hit by him, but you definitely got to make it your business to take Shakur Stevenson up out of his comfort zone. You know, which is him boxing and stuff like that. You got to put him in a situation where he gonna have to fight you up off of him. You know what I mean? If you're able to do that and outwork him in the process, then you could beat him. But playing chess with Shakur, that'll be absolutely dumb. Staying on the end of Shakur Stevenson's uh, punches would be absolutely dumb. You got to get in your Orlando Salido bag. You're going to have to hit this man on his hips. You know what I mean? If you get, you're going to have to get a little dirty in there. You got to make Shakur feel uncomfortable, bro. If you don't do that, he going to pick you off. Them counter punches going to be there. You know what I mean? That's gonna be on full display. You're gonna be getting hit. You're gonna be running into some nasty body shots on the inside. It's gonna be an ugly joint, but I could really see Shakur hurting Cepeda to the body and possibly getting him up out of there. If Cepeda don't make it a fight, he's not gonna win. He's not cut like that where he could just think with Shakur and get the bust up, bro. That's not happening. You gotta make it a fight, and it gotta be an ugly fight. Hugo says Morel or the other dude. I haven't gotten a chance to really watch dude yet. You know what I mean? I was chopping it up with Claymore and what was it, yesterday? On the live, and he was telling me to check him out. They said that dude, he a good finisher. He could fucking punch. You know what I mean? Aggressive, come forward fighter. I can't really speak on that fight yet. I can't. So I'm gonna reserve my opinion. But I've seen a lot of people believe Morel could beat him, so we'll see. You say he a meanie, better beef. But that's gonna be a tough matchup for Morel then, because Morel like to get bold and trade with people. So if he cracking like better beef, and I mean, Morel gonna have to play it smart. Hopefully he learned from that Benavidez fight, learn how to incorporate his jab more, and stop banking on your power all the time. Mixing your boxing with your power, and he should be all right. Puello versus Matias. I got Matias, man. I think that although Puello is rangier, you know what I mean, and he may be the better boxer, the more skilled guy, you know what I mean, good boxing ability and stuff like that. I think his boxing ability is underrated, to be honest with you. But what I'm gonna say is Puello gets bold, man. I think Puello one of them dudes that his heart could take over, his heart could take over the fight at some time. And I went back and I watched that Sandor Martin fight, and I don't know if it was because he underestimated, Sandor Martin's ability to get aggressive and make it an inside fight. I think he was under the impression that Sandor Martin was going to try to box him how he did Teofimo and shit just went a different way. But what I did notice was when Sandor was closing the gap again on the inside with Puello, he was punching to the body in combinations. And Puello, he like to stand his ground and try to throw punches in between. If he does that against Subrel, he's going to give Subrel a lot of opportunities to be successful. And that's not something you should want to do against Subrel. You can't let Subrel get confident. Subrel, I like to call him a momentum fighter. You know what I mean? Once that momentum starts, going his way, it's like it gets him more confident. He picks it up more. He picks it up more. He picks it up more until he beats you into submission. You see what I'm saying? So what you want to do if you Puello is you want to keep his momentum to a minimum as much as possible. When he starts to get some combinations off, You got to disrupt the combinations with your counter punching. You know what I mean? When he's trying to close the gap, you keep that jab on him. When he tries to fight on the inside or he got you against the ropes, you got to tie him up. You got to make this man constantly reset. You're going to have to make him, like, as soon as he start to build some shit, you got to knock it down. You know what I mean? So, I think this is a 50-50 fight, to be honest with you. I love the fight. But I do think Subriel is definitely going to get the Puello. I think Puello just going to, I don't know if Puello can move for 12 rounds too. That's another thing. I don't know if he could get on his bicycle for 12 rounds. And, he definitely could, he definitely could let his hands go. We've seen that. But can he keep up with Subriel's work rate? And, can he keep up? Can he take the shit that he dishing out? Because he going to get hit. You know what I mean? Is he gonna be okay with being uncomfortable? I mean, he fought Gary Antoine Russell, so he knows what it's like to be in there with a pressure fighter. But I don't know. I think Subriel is a little bit different from Gary Antoine, though. Like Gary, I think Subriel got the heavier hands, so I think I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm rooting for Subriel. I think Subriel gonna beat Puello. Might stop him late. That's gonna be my bold little pick. You feel me? But it's 50-50. It could go either way. Pro Up Dan said Puello gonna cook Matias. Okay. I see a lot of people saying that. I think y'all sleeping on Matias, man. I think that recency bias done getting to your head. Don't sleep on that man, I'm telling you. Matias is beatable. But you're gonna have to go through some shit to beat him. And that's a fact. Marlon says, like and subscribe. Absolutely, brother. Appreciate that. Go 787 in the building. He says, Puello resume kind of weak, to be honest. His last two performances were okay. I thought he lost the last one, and the first time he won a title, he was dirty, and I thought he lost. Yeah, that's another thing. I was like, why y'all going for Puello anyway? He a motherfucking drug cheat. That's another thing. I give him his respect. You know what I mean? He got skills and shit like that. And I can acknowledge when, he may have some advantages over his opponent, but it's like, why would you root for him? Y'all forgot he tested positive. Y'all remember he was supposed to fight Rolly and he tested positive for PEDs? Like, get the fuck out of here. That's a man who ain't sure of himself. Motherfuckers be letting that shit slide right under the radar because they don't know Puello that much. That's a drug cheat right there. Just like how we talk about Ryan, we gotta talk about Puello. We gotta keep the same energy for Puello. Yeah, Rolly was supposed to fight Puello. And I just find it so ironic that Rolly and Puello are supposed to fight each other. You know what I mean? He tried to do Rolly dirty with the PEDs. Now they training under the same trainer. Like, how that shit work? Yeah, it's easy to forget about because Puello is not a big name. You feel me? Like, he a world champ, but he's not a big name. So it's easy to just let that shit slide under the radar. You know what I mean? I'm trying to tell you, I've seen Sandor have a lot of success on the inside with Puello. That's what Subriel like to get into. He like to get in them trenches. And Matias got some I like to bring this guy up a lot because he the perfect example of like not minding getting into like a dirty fight. Matias got some Orlando Salido in him. Matias got a Salido bag. So that's what make motherfuckers dangerous because Subriel bring out the true character of a motherfucker. You feel what I mean? A lot of these dudes, they just want to box. They don't want to fight. You see what I mean? They content with boxing you know what I mean, using their skills and not really going outside of that. You feel what I mean? With Subriel, he gonna put you in a situation where your boxing not working, so you got to tap into something else. Right? Make you tap into something else where you may have to question your character. Now it's not a matter of can you box. The boxing ain't working no more. You got to use something else. You're back against the wall. You're going to have to fight this motherfucker. We know you could box, but can you fight? And some people, they don't like to be in the kitchen when it get too hot. You know what I mean? They like the, I mean, some motherfuckers, you know what I mean? They need the fans on in that kitchen for them to cook some shit up. You know what I mean? They want to be under AC. They want to be under central air while they putting these ingredients together. Don't nobody want to be in no hot kitchen where it feel like a sauna in that motherfucker. That's what Subrel do. He make that boxing ring feel like a sauna. It's either you gonna get through that, John, or that heat exhaustion gonna catch up to you. You gonna have to get up out of there. Start seeing floaters and shit. It's either you accustomed to the heat or you let the heat consume you. It's one of them. Matias is beatable. Let's not get it fucked up. He could be beat. He been beat twice already. Before he was world champion and at his first world title defense. Leon Paro and the other dude, Petros, whatever the fuck his name is. Bro, he's beatable, but you're going to have to go through some shit to beat him. Trust me. Mazuma, do you think people are making a mistake using the Russell fight to compare Matias while Gary was smothering his own work? Matias don't do that. He's comfortable in that situation. Yeah, I think that's a mistake. You know what I mean? Like they share some similarities in terms of being like aggressive, you know, like pressure fighters that let their hands go, but you know, they let their hands go in different ways. You know what I mean? They let their hands go in different ways. I think the punching power is different. You know, they both got high knockout ratios, but I think that they get their I don't know. They definitely different though. I think they'll see the difference. That's how it's gonna be with Haney. We know he could box, but can he fight? Because Norman bringing that heat, bro. And I don't want to say this because like I respect Norman, bro, but I feel like this is a situation where y'all giving this man his stripes before he earned them. I understand he a world champion. I understand he could punch. I understand he had a crazy knockout against Jin Sasaki, bro. But I feel like y'all putting a little bit too much stock in Brian Norman right now because even though he is a world champion, he hasn't really shown us much. He is what I categorize as a champion, but a green champion. I get a lot more reassurance from watching Devin Haney than Brian Norman. I know more about Devin Haney than Brian Norman. You feel what I mean? Because Devin Haney has given us more fights at an elite level in comparison to Brian Norman. This is going to be Brian Norman's come out fight. This is the fight where we're going to see what Brian Norman is really made of. We've already seen what Devin Haney's made of. We've seen this man get hurt. We done seen this man come off the canvas. Like we done seen this man go through it all at a high level. We seen Brian Norman put on mediocre performances at a low level. I've never seen Devin Haney have a mediocre performance at a low level. So I don't know. Like I understand why I understand that Brian Norman's dangerous going into this fight. But at the same time, it's like I think y'all putting a little bit too much spice on the boy Norman because for real, he ain't really show y'all shit yet. Elite level versus some little dudes, man. Come on. Well, from what I understand, Hugo, you let me know. Did Devin Haney ever miss weight? Or did he make them weight? Or did he make that weight just like them little dudes? So this is what I want to ask you too. Wouldn't it put him at a disadvantage if he's this? Because based off of what you're saying that Devin Haney's a big dude because he did elite fights against little dudes, right? Cool. So if he's just so much of a bigger dude and he's draining himself down to a weight class to meet these smaller guys who not struggling to make the weight, wouldn't he, although he's the bigger guy, wouldn't he be at a disadvantage, you know, boiling himself down to that weight class to fight these little dudes? Because the little dude's comfortable making a weight, right? Devin Haney not. Because he's so much of a bigger guy. So one of these little guys have a advantage over Devin Haney, considering he had to drain himself so much to get down to the weight? It's like we got to really think about it. Like people think because these bigger guys are, coming down to these weight classes, they automatically got the, the advantage against these smaller dudes. Not all the time, because there is such thing as leaving your fight in the gym from cutting too much weight or overtraining. That's a thing. You said he would inject himself to rehydrate. Well, but rehydrating, this is the thing, right? Rehydrating is a thing. Yeah, cool. But you could rehydrate and still leave a lot of fight in the gym. You could rehydrate and still be overtrained for a fight. It's not like you like. Let's say Devin Haney lost 40 pounds for a fight, and let's say it really took a toll on his body. Injecting yourself or whatever and fighting 24 hours later, that's not enough time to truly recover. So you gonna go into the ring with a fraction of yourself regardless. And I think we started to see that. Like when I really started to pick up that Devin Haney was starting to leave some fight in the gym was them later rounds against Vasyl Lomachenko. That's when I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not good. You feel what I'm saying? You could definitely burn yourself out. And this is what I learned from coaches when I grew up. Overtraining is just as bad as not training at all. You need to have a fair balance. And when these guys like, I'm just saying, I think one of the guys that fell victim to that was Jared Hurd. Y'all remember Jared Hurd was like the size of a fucking super middleweight, and he was boiling all the way down to 154, and everybody praised his ability to make weight. And Jared Hurd would brag about being this heavy and then cutting down to this weight, and it was all cool. It was all cool when when he was unified champ. Then when he fought J Rock and shit started not going his way, uh he just didn't look like himself. He just didn't look like himself. And after that fight, he was never the same. There is such thing as burning yourself out. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but Philly sound like motherfucking Vietnam right now. Them fireworks going off tonight. I'm hearing quarter sticks. That shit sound crazy. But yeah, man. So like being a bigger guy in a weight class can have its perks, but it can also have its cons. People always talk about, the benefits that bigger guys have shrinking down to smaller weight classes, but you know what I mean? It's a gamble too. It's a gamble too. I've seen plenty of bigger guys fighting a weight class and look like complete dog shit. We see what happened with fighters when they stay too long at a weight class. Go get the money says you heard Derrick James say that the car accident didn't take a toll on Errol. Do you think he burnt himself out training for the Bud fight? Well, I think for Derrick James to say that is absolutely foolish. To act like that car accident didn't have an effect on his body in any way, that's a lie. Now, is that the reason why he lost to Bud? Now, I don't think that. I think that Earl Spence, and he's admitted this on social media, I think that he just got into some bad habits outside of the ring. And one of the things that, he would do was balloon up in weight, something crazy. And it's all good when you young, you know what I mean? Earl Spencer's telling you that he's jogging miles in sauna suits and, pretty much starving himself to make weight. Like that's very, very dangerous. I think a lot of people uh underestimate how dangerous these things are. You know, what these fighters do to cut weight is very, very dangerous to their health, to their body, you know, and your body can only take so much before, you know, it starts to fall apart. I think that Earl's partying habits and, you know, him ballooning up in weight, him admitting that he was a, you know, that I heard, and this is from what I heard from people that was in Texas, Earl Spence was known for being like somebody who party hard and getting carried out of clubs and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, you know, things. I think it was a little bit of cutting corners and, you know, not having a disciplined lifestyle. I don't think there's any boxing this weekend, unfortunately. I don't think there's any boxing this weekend. But yeah, I've always heard that Earl Spence, like, he party hard, like that's what he did. So I mean, it's easy to, you know, be Earl Spence and be unified champion and get all arrogant and, you know what I mean. It's easy to get arrogant in them situations, but you know that's what separates, you know, good fighters from the great fighters. Oh yeah, Catterall and Harlem Eubank. I don't know if I'm gonna tune into that one. I don't know if I'm gonna have time, especially if it's on Saturday, because I gotta work and I'm gonna have my son and all that. So I gotta see how that go. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think I'm doing anything this weekend though. I just come on here and chop it up with y'all for the weekend. You know what I mean? That's it for real. For real. 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks now, from what I understand, because they fighting like July 12th, right? Where's that? Wait, when they rumbling? Is it the 12th or the 19th? When they fight on the 12th? Yeah, they fighting on the 12th, so it's only 8 days from now, brother, not 2 weeks. Yeah, it's next week. Yeah, it's lit. It's definitely lit. Yeah, looking forward to that shit. Usyk is the 19th, correct? Yeah, this month definitely lit. Anonymous wasn't lying. He said, "Can't wait to see Berlanga get punched on." Damn. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what. If Berlanga lose, bro, that's gonna be a bad John. Like, cause he keep talking about this my shit. This my shit. Talking about New York. This my shit. You heard? This my shit. You heard? This my shit. You heard? And he gonna let that boy from London come over here and beat the brakes off him with that tight ass suit he been walking around in. Motherfucker think he this motherfucker walking around like he the Prince of Africa and shit. You know, like the motherfucker be dressing like he part of the royal family. I think that nigga Hamza might be Turkey Al Sheikh, like biological son or something. I don't know. I don't know, man. But yeah, Berlanga be talking about, oh, this my shit, you heard? This my shit, you heard? And doing all this crazy shit, and Hamza just sparking, that'd be a bad joint. Especially if that's his first fight at 68. Oh, wait, that'd be a super bad joint. Yeah, my name's Bond. James Bond. Yeah, yeah, he tripping. Ba-da-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da. I had that James Bond game on the GameCube, cuz that was my shit. Did I watch the face? So I was listening to it in the background while like I had my son with me, so I was just kicking it with my son and I was hearing them talk back and forth. And Hamza don't seem like he really worried about what Berlanga talking about. Like Berlanga really trying to convince him that he like that. It just, you could tell Hamza like he ain't really feeling what Berlanga talking about. Anonymous says, I think Usyk beats Dubois again. To be honest, though, Dubois still has that weakness I spoke about, the jab. Yeah, and I know that Dubois did a 180 and he's got some good wins and he on a streak right now. Oh, that's all cool. But he still got that bitch in him. He still got that quit in him. I'm telling you that don't go away. It's like if you've purposely quit on multiple occasions, there's no way for me to think that just goes away. That's just something that's instilled in you, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So if he doesn't land anything clean on Usyk, that's the only way I see him really being Usyk. If he just clean him up with a big shot or something. Like if he don't do that, I think he systematically gets broken down, and I think he quits again. Because in my opinion, he quit. He quit in the last Usyk fight. I think he got a little bit too hot in there for Dubois. He got hit with a jab. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm done. I'm cool." He wrapped that shit up. Dubois is somebody that, you know what I mean, he'll look for an exit if he feel like there's no other avenue. Like he's not gonna sit there and go out on his shield or, not take no for an answer. No, he'll go out that door. You just gotta give him that doubt. Once he has that doubt in his mind, he out. Once you get that doubt in the block, because he not gonna just have doubt in his head off the rip. You gotta put that in his mind. Like there's nothing you could do. You can't fuck with me. Once you get that in his head that there's no solution in beating him, in beating his opponent, he gonna look for a way out. Motherfucker talking about what's cracking, broski. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? If Jared Miller trained, he would have quit too. Bro, on some real shit, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think that Gerald Miller wasn't really prepared for that fight, man. But like you could see that Gerald Miller's style was giving Dubois some problems, but the difference was when they both got fatigued, Daniel Dubois caught the second win and Gerald Miller didn't. So what really helped Dubois in that fight was his preparation. It wasn't him being a more brilliant guy or being a tougher guy. No, it was that he was in shape and Gerald Miller wasn't. So that's just what I think. Speaking of Gerald Miller, I need to know what's going on between him and Jared Anderson. Are they fighting or what? That'll be I'm gonna tell y'all this. That'll be a sturdy opening bout on that November card. Am I saying he turkey? He definitely got turkey in him. But he a tough turkey though. Like he like them turkeys that'll run up on you if they feel threatened and they get to flapping their wings and shit. And you like, oh shit, like he wanted up. But once you get in your head, like, man, this is a turkey. He can't do nothing to me. You know what I mean? Then that's when they, you know what I mean, they ain't not that much of a threat. You know what I mean? He a tough turkey though. Them turkeys, when they get bold, they try to chase after you. You know what I mean? But when you're not willing to run from them, then they pretty much useless. They can't really do nothing. What can a turkey do to you? Poke you with their beak? Like what is they doing? Once you get the realization that, you know what I mean, they ain't really like that. The Notorious says they have an Abdullah Mason and a Devin Norman card. Yeah, we spoke about that already, brother. Shout out to the Notorious though. Anonymous said Jared better not take that Miller fight. Definitely gonna beat him. Miller is even bigger than Bacoli is. That's a fact. I think stylistically, Jared Miller is all wrong for Jared Anderson. You know what I mean? Like, um, the pressure that Jared Miller puts on, that's going to be very uncomfortable for Jared Anderson. The size, pause. Jared Anderson is not that big of a heavyweight. I tell y'all this all the time. That's why they was like moving cruiserweights up to heavyweight to fight him when they was building him up with top rank. He's not, his size is not going to be that much of a factor. Jared Miller is going to be significantly bigger than him. Another thing, the volume punching. And Gerald Miller could take a shot. That big motherfucker could take a punch. So Jared might lay some shit on him, but I don't think that would discourage Gerald Miller. And Gerald Miller don't have a problem letting his hands go when he plays. He ripped the body too. Gerald Miller ripped that body too. But hopefully Jared Anderson got some drug testing for his ass too. Yeah, I met Jared Anderson. I got his autograph right there. Him and Boots autograph on the same glove. Because I think there was a point in time where Jared Anderson was going to train with Boots and them, but apparently, I guess he ain't like how the way Bozy ain't play that shit or something. He said Miller could do him like Bacoli. I don't think he could do him like Bacoli in terms of like packing him up and getting him up out of there real quick, but I think Gerald Miller could drown him. That's what I think. I think he could drown him. Like Bacoli just packed him. Like, man, let me get this little nigga up out of there and packed him. Gerald Miller power ain't set up like that. Gerald Miller power set up where like he beat you up. Like he, accumulation puncher. Hugo Juice said, Boots versus Virgil, what you got? Come on, man. Who's gonna break Virgil the fuck up, man? Virgil gonna have trouble with the athleticism, the hand speed, the elusiveness. Because if y'all think Boots ain't gonna be on his defensive shit with Virgil, man, he gonna break Virgil up. All them bad defensive tendency, those holes that Virgil got in his defense, Boots getting to that. Wait till y'all see how the way Boots look at 54. Wait. The hand speed gonna be the biggest difference though. Miller could have been champ if he didn't test positive because with the condition Joshua was in, Gerald would have beat Joshua. That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, bro, if Joshua would have fought Gerald Miller that night, how the way he was and shit, because they say he was having panic attacks in the locker room and all. Like he was really like going through it. He had some like mental shit going on. And Gerald probably would have beat him, bro. Boots getting drug tested, respectfully. Boots been getting drug tested. What are you talking about? Yeah, Miller definitely bring the fight, but yeah, he a drug cheat. You know what I mean? We can respect niggas' styles, but it's like rooting for a drug cheat is just crazy to me. He said Boots never testing positive. But that's the thing. Boots hasn't ever test positive, but if he ever did, then I'll hold him accountable like everybody else. That's the difference between me and everybody else. You feel me? I hold motherfuckers accountable when they do some fuck shit. But he hasn't, so that's not even a conversation for real. Do I got Boots by stoppage? Shit. If um, Virgil's tough, so I ain't trying to like, sleep on the nigga or nothing like that. I definitely think Virgil has gotten better. That Mazuma performance was impressive, but I think that had more to do with Mazuma than Virgil, for real, for real. It just seemed like Mazuma was off. That wasn't the guy that I seen in previous fights. But regardless, if Virgil defense lacking, he can get stopped. This is gonna be the last question, y'all. Coffee says, "How would things be if Boots do business with Turkey and has to fly out to Saudi, despite you saying Bozy don't like planes?" Well, I'm sure, you know, I'm sure Bozy would just swallow his pride and take the long plane trip if the money right. You know what I'm saying? Like if the money right, most likely they'll get flown over like on a private plane or whatever the case is, um, which will probably speed up the travel process. I don't really see how it wouldn't happen. I don't think Bozy's that against plane rides where like he'll turn down a career high payday for his son. I doubt that. But what I do know is Bozy don't like them planes. I know that for a fact. He told me that personally. He don't fuck with planes. But my grandfather the same way, so that's probably like an OG thing. You know what I mean? Like my grandfather be popping pills before he get on that plane. Virgil gets cracked though, man. That's the thing. Like Virgil get hit. Boo's hand speed gonna be the difference in that shit though, man. His athleticism. But nobody's unbeatable. That's a fact. Anybody could be beat. I say that all the time. But I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I appreciate everybody that came through and showed love to the channel. We had a great conversation today. Yeah, I mean, if you appreciate the boxing content, the boxing talk overall, please feel free to hit the like button. We have 41 likes in the building thus far, so thank you very much for supporting the channel. Y'all go ahead, share the video, like the video, and if you fuck with the channel, man, subscribe to the channel as well, man. This is Mazuma TV, the home of boxing excellence. I hope y'all have a blessed, beautiful night. I'll be back at y'all with another live. I don't know if I'm gonna go live tomorrow. Just be on the lookout for announcements, man. Until then, y'all have a blessed, beautiful one. I'm up out of here, man. Peace.